Okay, lesson 13 of vocabulary. This week our root word is tin, T-E-N, tin, T-I-N, or tain, from the Latin verb tenere, and the related word tenax basically means to hold or to hold on to. So for example, a tenant is a holder of an apartment, a house, a land, but not necessarily the owner. A lieutenant governor may hold the position or serve in lieu of the government when necessary. So our first vocabulary word is abstinence. It's a noun. It means holding oneself back voluntarily from indulging an appetite or a craving. So, for instance, on Ash Wednesday, devout Catholics decide what they're going to abstain from for a period of time. So it may be something like candy, or it may be some kind of meat often. They're choosing voluntarily to abstain from that, so they are practicing abstinence. Our second word is tenacious, which is an adjective. It's stubborn or persistent in clinging to a thing. And I always think of tenacious. My dad always used to say, tenacious like a bulldog. So the idea that a bulldog will grab on to something and not let go, they show the quality of being tenacious. Translate to that to a person who grabs onto an idea or a concept or a behavior and they're just going to follow it through to the end. They're stubborn and persistent in it, tenacious. A third vocabulary word is tenable. It's an adjective. It means capable of being held or defended. It's reasonable. Oftentimes, if we're talking, like for example, about your research paper, I want your points to be tenable. I want them to be capable of being proven. And our last new vocabulary word for this week is sustenance. It's a noun. It's something that gives support or strength. Oftentimes we think of food as being sustenance because it supports and strengthens the body. So our root word is tin, or tain, from the Latin language, and it means to hold or to hold on to. Our first vocabulary word is abstinence. It's a noun, holding oneself back voluntarily from indulging an appetite or a craving. Then we had tenacious, an adjective, which means stubborn or persistent in clinging to a thing. Our third vocabulary word was tenable, which is an adjective, capable of being held or defended, reasonable. And then we had sustenance, which is a noun, something that gives support or strength. Last week our root word was pon or pos, and it was from Latin as well, and it means to put or to place. Our first vocabulary word was component, a noun. It's a separate part of a whole, an ingredient or an element. We talked about a component on a stereo system. You could also think possibly about an egg being a component when you bake a cake. It's an ingredient or an element, a part of. Then we had disposition, which is a noun. It's tendency, inclination, or basic outlook or attitude. We talked about somebody having a cheery disposition if they're smiling all the time, or if they look grumpy, having a cranky disposition. It's an outlook or an attitude. Our third vocabulary word last week was repository, which was a noun, and it's a place or a container where something is stored. So a pantry could be a repository for food. A bank is a repository for money. And our last word was superimpose, which is a verb. And it's to place or put one thing over something else. And here we talked about the old cameras, how sometimes the film wouldn't advance and you'd take two pictures and one picture would be superimposed over the other. So these are your 8 words. You're going to do the activity here on Canvas, or the worksheet if you should so choose. Bring any questions that you have to class and we'll go over these again on Monday. See you then.